All right. It looks like we're live. Let me know. Um, if you're watching this recorded, skip about 13 minutes into the video because I start early usually just to say hello to everyone. And yeah, I've got Rudy here with me. Rudy's gonna, yeah, he's a bit fluffy right now, but he's gonna be groomed in about a week, aren't you, boy? Yeah, he's doing well. So if you're early, you're gonna get the early bird gets the worms, so to speak. So you're gonna get to see Rudy early today. Fox Moongaze is here. Good evening, Fox. Cocky Hemi says hello. Nabby and Durarama from Quebec in Canada. Sony Olofsson from Sweden. Hope you're preparing for war, Sony. I'm only kidding, but I've heard the stories about what's going on in Sweden. Maybe you could comment. I'm not too up to date with it. AG47 says hello, Mario. Hi, everyone. Buy silver, yeah, and gold as well if you can. Dutch Libertarian. Nice to see you here, Dutch Libertarian. Yeah, Starfire Reborn. Yeah, Rudy's about, yeah, he's just over 13 months. So yeah, he's a young one. Tomcat, Tyler Pelletier from Niagara Falls in Canada. Bruno Silva from Lisbon or Lisboa. He says boa noite. That's good evening in Portuguese. Andrew Watson from Basingstoke. Darren Smith. Buy silver and gold. Yeah, I've got some like junk silver here today. We're going to talk a little bit about it. I've got UK junk and US junk. Of course, they're good silver. It's just a name people use, junk. It doesn't really mean that it's junk. Uh, Beth Eugenio, thank you for your super chat. It does seem like war is likely and lining up with the reinversion of the yield curve. Yeah, the yield curve in re actually it disinverted a lot in the last few days of last week. It's the two tens is getting closer to being flat, which means there could be a recession very soon, maybe in the next 3 months or so. Um, I've taken some notes here on my legal pad. What we're going to go through today, uh, you know, talk about the desperation of the West, and that it's been brewing for for many decades, but I would say in particular since 2008, and I'm going to go over why I think that is so. And then, of course, I'll be trying to answer all your questions as much as possible. And I'm on my own today. Clive is actually I'm gonna be with Clive tomorrow. We're gonna do an interview tomorrow morning. So yeah. Jean-Louis Lalonde says, yeah, they're gonna blame the Houthis, or they're gonna have to pay the price for, our Western financial system. But it's of course they're not gonna fool us. They'll fool most of the people, but not all of the people. Uh, Beef Eugenio says he's shorting crypto and buying gold. Uh, Keys Aben says UK hotel price is doubled in 1 year. Maybe it's because a lot of the hotels are now occupied by illegal refugees, and it's driven up. It's kind of yeah, the supply of rooms has gone down because they're all full, and we're paying for it. So there's not enough um, rooms for real tourists. That could be the reason. LGX2 says, rest in peace, Gonzalo Lira. Yeah, I saw that. I mean, that's really bad. I watched the Duran and also Alex's channel. That's really worrying. Basically, a guy was persecuted for saying the truth, which goes to show that, we're not, they're not fighting for democracy in Ukraine because it's nowhere. It's not a democracy. It's a authoritarian regime. And unfortunately, we just keep not we personally, but our supposed leaders in the West just keep making mistakes. Either they're very incompetent or it's being done on purpose. I think it's a mix of both. I just saw that we promised another 2.9 billion pounds to the Ukraine, even though that war is like lost. It's really just sad to see the West falling so quickly and never, it doesn't seem like we have someone making any good decisions, unfortunately. Matt Bittner, if Middle East war is likely, it's time to buy more PBR, Petrobras. Yeah, I mean, not just, I think Petrobras is good to have because it pays a good dividend. Um, but yeah, you might even see the share price go higher if there is a war. Uh, Ever interviewed David Hunter? I contacted him once, I think, and he declined, or he said he didn't have the time to contact him later, so I haven't interviewed him. I mean, I have increased the amounts of interviews I do, but I still like to focus on what I've been doing for 8 years is mostly on my own. But yeah, I did an interesting interview I posted. I did it on Friday. I posted yesterday with a scientist, Dr. Willie Soon, talking about climate change and all that. I think he was on with Tucker Carlson. So yeah, check out, on my YouTube channel that interview that I posted yesterday. I think that was an interesting one, a little different. Matt Bittner says Brazil is unlikely to be affected by war. Yeah, no, Brazil usually stays out of these wars. I think it was involved in World War II, but right at the tail end of it. So we got about 5 minutes till we start going over what I'm thinking. And the title, of course, of the live stream is West desperate to trigger major conflict as financial system teeters on the precipice. And of course, this is a title for the live stream. It doesn't mean we just need to talk about that. You can ask your questions as well. It's just that I have to pick a title, but I will cover why I'm thinking like this. Um, and yeah, so we got about 4 minutes. Scoobyism says Billy was great. Yeah, he was. Rudy's all right too. Here he is. Don't know if you. There he is. He's still here. What Rudy likes to do, I've got a desk here where my laptop is. He likes to lie down on the desk. Sometimes he lies on the laptop on the keyboard. But I'm gonna put him on the sofa now. Uh, there. Uh, oh, he jumped off. My microphone dropped, so I think he's going under the desk now. So Catherine Austin Fitz would be nice. Yeah, I'll try to get a. I've been following her for many years. Catherine Austin Fitz. She's very knowledgeable about the whole financial system and what's going on. She used to be an insider. Carrie Ellen Wilder, you are on the ascent in your presentations. You just keep getting better and better with each passing day. Kudos. Well done. Well, thank you, Carrie Ellen. I appreciate that. Red Bull Vodka, I followed Gonzalo Lira when he was coach Red Pill. Smart dude. Went to Dartmouth College. Um, Actually, the first time I heard of Gonzalo Lira was way before I started this channel back in 2010 or 11. He used to write for Zero Hedge. I was still working in the financial markets and I used to read some of his articles. They're interesting and he forecast hyperinflation and I think he's going to be right. LGX2 says my Shih Tzu sleeps on my desk all day long and cries if I don't let him up. Yeah, he does the same, Rudy. The other thing he does, he goes on the desk and he sits first and he keeps lifting his paw. So I have to touch his paw. I'm not sure what that's about. But then he'll lie down and just be quiet. Ricardo Pereira says, thanks for your work. Mario, please say hello in Portuguese for the Brazilian audience. Oi, tudo bem? Olá para todos os brasileiros na audiência e obrigado por estar assistindo. Ricardo Pereira, that's my Portuguese, Brazilian Portuguese. Uh, Blue Water Stacks, thank you for your super chat. What do you think about stacking cheap 40% silver Kennedys and Eisenhower dollars? Yeah, I have some of those. The half dollars after I think it was up until 67. They're 40%. And I think the rest is copper nickel. And I have some Eisenhower dollars too. It's fine as long as it's got silver in it. And even copper and nickel, if we, in a hyperinflation, any kind of metal will be worth something. So yeah, if you can get them, just make sure you calculate what you're paying for the silver. It's easy to do. Just take the 40% of the weight of the coin and translate it, the grams into divided by 31.103, and it will give you the percentage of a troy ounce. But no, not a problem, I would say. Victoria Newland, yeah. Is that Gonzalo Lira? Yeah, Victoria Newland. Her husband, I forgot his name now. He's got a different surname, professional name, but he's a paid up neocon. He was involved in writing the New American Century, So these people are really bad for America and bad for the world. A lot of times we go on about what America's doing, but it's not the American people, it's their governments. And the same thing here in the UK. Um, it's crazy what they're doing as well. We can't even keep a health system going efficiently, but we're giving 2.9 billion pounds to a corrupt dictator in Ukraine. And I'm not defending Russia, China, or the BRICS, but they don't seem to be making the same mistakes that we're making in the West. They don't seem to have as good leaders. They seem to have a lot better leaders than we do. We don't really seem to have leaders, unfortunately. Mary, can you say that in Brooklyn, Brooklyn language? Not sure I know a Brooklyn accent. I don't know. Uh, I know maybe a Boston accent, park the car, but Juliet Goudreau, hi Mary, do you follow or get in touch with Mike Parallel Systems? Mike showed a video a few weeks ago about our coins, a British sovereign on them can be requisitioned. I'm not sure what you mean by requisitions, like they can confiscate your sovereigns. I don't think it's ever been done. In the 60s, they limited the amount of sovereigns you could buy. No, I haven't. I don't think I've heard vaguely of this channel, Parallel Mike or Mike of Parallel Systems, and I haven't been in contact with him. But I would say the worst thing about um, that you can do is actually buying ETFs or holding. There's digital gold that you can hold, for example, with the Royal Mint. Uh, I think holding physical gold coins, sovereigns and Britannias are the best way to go about it. Of course, you have to keep them safe. And yeah, I'm not sure about if they can requisition it. If there is such a thing, then everything is they can requisition anything. But yeah, British sovereign coins belong to the crown. I'm not too sure about that. If it's in your possession, possession is 90% of the law. And yeah, I'm not too sure. I mean, I think Socrates, um, yeah, the old philosophers talked about that. But and in the past, maybe during the Roman times, or people consider that the coins were owned by the crown, but I don't think that that is the case anymore. I could be wrong. But you could argue that everything, here is owned by the crown, the land that my house is in, even though it's a freehold. Um, so so let's start now because it's 4 minutes past the hour. So the title today is West desperate to trigger major conflict as financial system teeters on the precipice. And I think a lot of you are aware, of course, of the debt problem that the whole Western world has. Well, and even the rest of the world, like countries like China, have a problem. Um, but what I want to talk about is why it's happening. And I think we need to go back. We can go back. We could go back as very far, but I think 2008 was the pivotal year where unfortunately the leaders of the West took the wrong turn. And what do I mean by the wrong turn? Well, in 2008, we had the whole of Wall Street, the city of London, all the big banks were going to collapse. And the housing market was collapsing too, because mortgage rates are going up. People over leveraged, subprime. But I think it was more going to be a problem that all the big banks were going to collapse. And when the big banks collapse, the whole monetary system collapses because the big banks are integral in supporting the fiat currency system because they're the primary dealers for government debt. They buy all the issuance of debt. Yes, the central bank buys it later from them through QE. They don't do it directly because it would look really bad. But yeah, these banks were bailed out. And so we took the turn of bailouts and rewarding gambling, irresponsible management, and yeah, we did all the wrong things, and we bailed them out through inflation. And what's inflation? Was the QE, all the debt that we had to take on, and the central bank had to do QE to make sure that the government could carry that debt. So we took the wrong turn. What do I think would have been the right turn to take? At the fork at the road. Well, leaving the banks to fail. And the problem is that a banking collapse would have collapsed the whole political, monetary system. It would have been, and turkeys, unfortunately, don't vote for Christmas. But that would have been, it would have been very painful. And there was a country that did that a year or two later. That was Iceland. And, yes, it's a small country, only 300,000 people, but they managed and they got out of it eventually. And I would argue that we'd be out of it by now. We'd be recovering, but power would have shifted. The people, on Wall Street, in the city of London, the private equity, the hedge funds, the bankers, they would have been finished. So, and I think that's why we are where we are right now. And that was the first, yeah, that was the pivotal moment and a mistake that we made. And there's a documentary, I think, about the collapse. I forgot which one, but Hank Paulson, who was the Secretary of the Treasury, um, he's in a meeting with the major Wall Street bankers at the New York Fed, in the boardroom, and he says the West is F you, I don't want to say the word. He said it's finished. The West is finished. And I always remember that vividly, and that stuck with me because I thought it was finished. And I thought that we're going to lumber future generations with massive debt, massive inflation. And I think I've been right because that's where we are right now. So I got a super chat here from Girl OG. Thank you for your super chat. Argentina's president are going to Davos and speak there. Do you believe he's still a good guy? Yeah, he's been a big disappointment, Girl OG. That's why I don't trust politicians. He's a good actor, I guess. He fooled me. I thought, this guy's an Austrian. He's going to abolish the central bank. Yeah, there's no, it's the other thing he did that I didn't like before he took over. Even though after he won the election before the inauguration, he went to New York and met with Bill Clinton, which was, in my opinion, really bad. So no, I don't trust him. And I don't really trust any politician, and that's why I keep telling people you need to look after yourself, have a small community, be self-sufficient and reliant. Unfortunately, yeah, you can't be waiting for any politician to save you. So I went through the pivotal mistake that we made in the West here. I'm gonna continue, and then I'm gonna look at your questions if you have any questions. So yeah, instead of letting everything collapse, they saved everything, unfortunately. Um, and the next big mistake, I think, was in Europe with the ECB and Mario Draghi, who said we were going to do whatever it takes to save Greece, Italy, Spain, Portugal, and Ireland from collapsing. Their interest rates, bond yields were going through the roof and they're going to collapse. And the banks were going to collapse. And not just in those countries, it was going to spread. It was going to be a total world sovereign debt crisis. And he printed more money. He chose the wrong road. He should have let them collapse. So we've been kicking the can down the road. And another thing I would say about Mario Draghi, he, of course, became prime minister of Italy recently. And now there's talk that they want him to become the head of NATO. So, or the head of the European Commission, some position like that. So it just goes to show that we don't have these leaders are incompetent or just like corrupt, and they keep getting rewarded, unfortunately. So I have very little hope, unfortunately, for the West, and that's why I think we're near some kind of event. I'm not sure what it's going to be. It could be war. It could be, it could be actually the debt crisis that Mario Draghi kicked the can down the road. We could be at the end of the road. So I'm going to answer some questions here. David Bradley, uh, print or die. What if they raised interest rates to save the bond market? No, if you raise interest rates, you kill the bond market because if you raise interest rates, bond yields will go up, and bond prices go down. That's what they've been doing. They've been raising interest rates, and it's been killing the bond market. The bond market is rebounded since the end of October because they think they're going to cut rates. So raising rates is, yeah, they're between a rock and a hard place. Yeah, Too Big to Fail is that the movie. Mark Sneed, Super Mario just dragged things on. Yeah, Mario Draghi. Any relation to Sam Snead, Mark? The golfer? Uh, Jean-Louis Lalonde? Pierre Jovanovic? Yeah, I've listened to him. He's good. Yeah, he used to go on the Max Kaiser show on RT. I have some of his books, actually. Pierre Jovanovic. How come Japan's still going on? I think one of the reasons Japan's still going on is that they have their economy is still quite it's more balanced. They have still a bit of manufacturing, and Japanese are big savers, so they've been able to do this. But the Japanese currency has been really one of the worst performing currencies, and I think the general public in Japan, they're suffering, and it's only like the top 1% or 10% that are doing well. The price of gold and yen is yeah, it's gone through the roof. So that's how they kept going at the expense of the currency. But yeah, and the fact that they still export quite a bit, and they don't have to borrow money from abroad to pay their debts because they have quite a big pension pool and a lot of savings. So I'm going to keep going. So the last stage we're talking about was the European sovereign debt crisis. And I think the other thing that's not helped the West is all the disruptions that we've been causing around the world, especially in places like Syria, Libya, and also the sanctions on all the countries that we're seeing, being imposed by the US. And that's what that has done. It's accelerated the process of the BRICS and expansion, and we're going to come to that a little later because the next step where there was a choice of letting things finally collapse, and they again took the wrong turning, in my opinion, was the period between 2017 and 2019. That's when the Fed was supposed to start normalizing its balance sheet, which had gone above 4 trillion, and they started to do QT. I think it was early 2018, but by September 2019, the QT had triggered the repo crisis, and basically banks on Wall Street, banks in the City of London, they lost confidence in each other, and the system was going to implode. There's problems with hedge funds, which we heard the BIS talk about a few months later, and then the whole system collapsed in March of 2020. Many people will blame, of course, the that pandemic or pandemic we had, COVID, but I think it was all to do with the fact that they tried to normalize the balance sheet and it didn't work. So they had to throw everything at it again. What would have been the right thing to do? Well, to let everything collapse. But they didn't. They covered it up with the lockdowns and everything. They printed even more money. They cut rates to zero or negative, and Yeah, that was another mistake. So we're compounding the mistakes and kicking the can down the road. And and now, we're getting to a point where I think they're trying to trigger a major conflict. And I hope they don't succeed, that the whole system implodes before they're able to do it. So I'll take some more questions. There is some more like points that I want to go through, but let's see what you've got. Graham Diamond, for how long can they kick the can down the road? Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's all got to do with the price of gold and silver, because if they lose control of the price of gold and silver, and by that I mean if they lose control of the value of their currencies versus gold and silver, I think the game could be up, and that's why they're so determined to keep gold and silver price, at least in dollars, suppressed. Um, but they can't kick it down the road forever. So it's better to be prepared, to be, you know, if you're one day late preparing and it happens, if it happens, then, if you're one day late, you won't be prepared. So that's why I think it's good to be prepared. And that's why, I thought back in 08, 09, that things were going to collapse and that they weren't bail things out. And the gold and silver that I had then would have, saved me, financially. And they can do it again, but I think we're getting to a point where so many people have woken up to what they're doing. Back in 08, people didn't know about fiat money, fiat currency, and inflation as well as they do now. And the Fed's balance sheet. No one looked at the Fed's balance sheet, but now it's a different story. So I think they're near the end. Mark Hall, do you agree that silver's more rare than gold? Not really, because if it was more rare than gold, it would be worth more than gold. So maybe it's not mined as much as gold because it's mined as a byproduct of many other metals. And I think the reason why it hasn't been mined more plen plentifully is because the price has been kept so artificially low. But no, I think historically the ratio is between 10 to 1 and 15 to 1. I think silver's always been more plentiful than gold, and that's why it's not, historically it has had less purchasing power, but it's still a precious metal. That's the way I see it. Jane DR says, WEF meeting Davos. Yeah. Yeah, I know who's going to be there. The Millet. Yeah, he's a big disappointment. And the main topic for this Davos 2024 is going to be regaining trust, as if the World Economic Forum ever, had any trust. The other thing I was reading is that they're meeting today in Davos prior to the summit. They had like kind of a peace conference, and the Ukrainian government was running it, and they didn't invite the Russians. And if you want to have a peace conference during a war, you have to have all warring factions. Even during the Versailles peace conference, the Germans were invited. I know they got shortchanged by the French, especially, but they were there. So it's another how can I say, symptom of how the West is so out of it. They seem to make all the bad decisions. Our leaders, to think that they can have uh, a peace conference in a war without having all sides in that war participate. It's just stupid. The other thing, of course, I forgot to talk about, well, I didn't forget, but we're getting to it now, is we started in '08. We looked at 2012, the European debt crisis. We looked at all the disruption in the Middle East, Syria, Libya, which alienated, made people uh, try to find alternatives to the West, uh, pick up, expand BRICS. We look at the 2017, 2019 period that the Fed was trying to get their balance sheet back down. Don't forget, the balance sheet of the Fed was around 800 billion before the '08 crisis, and then they printed like 3.5 trillion, and it got up to 4.3 trillion. And even Bernanke told Ron Paul in Congress, "Oh yeah, we can just take it back to a trillion, no problem." So that's when the problem started the in 2019, and then we had the COVID collapse, and now I would say that 2022 to now has been more mistakes by the West. And I'm not saying this because I'm pro any country, but basically, if you do your research and you know the history, you know, not really like old history, but just in the last 15 years, you know that there was a coup in the Ukraine in 2014, and that the east of the Ukraine, Donbass, Donetsk area, there was like fighting between the Russian ethnics and the Ukrainians, and it was really bad. And there was the Minsk Accord, and Russia was trying to. Russia didn't want to take over Ukraine. They just wanted to make sure that this conflict between the ethnic Russians from the east and the Ukrainians was resolved, but um, they didn't want to play ball, Ukraine or the West. They wanted Ukraine to join NATO. So, that war started there, or as Putin calls it, the special military operation. And the West again thought that they would easily change the regime in Moscow, i.e., get rid of Putin. They thought they robbed, they froze Russia's $300 billion in reserves. They're talking about now actually taking it for them, actually stealing them. They put all these sanctions on Russia. I think President Biden said that the ruble was going to become rubble, and it's been the complete opposite. It's all backfired. So uh, another set of mistakes, or are they doing this on purpose? And that's why now where we are is really dangerous, because I think they're desperate. As I put on the thumbnail of this live stream, they're desperate because nothing's working. And my hope, as I said, is that the whole system implodes before they can start a major war. And of course, what happened this week vis-a-vis the Houthis in Yemen is another example of arrogance. And in my opinion, it will be a big mistake as well. Even the UK is getting involved in bombing Yemen. And I think yeah, it's just gonna create more and more will in the rest of the world to distance itself from the West. And the other thing as well is that with the BRICS, I think what's been happening the last 2 years vis-a-vis Ukraine, Russian reserves, sanctions, is accelerated the integration of the BRICS and the expansion of the BRICS. And it's basically killed the petrodollar, because even Saudi Arabia now is part of the BRICS. And the other thing that's gonna kill the dollar and the petrodollar is the fact that the US is running such huge budget deficits. Um, the debt is going parabolic, but at the same time, um, the demand for dollars is going to drop sharply. And what does that mean? Well, foreigners are not going to need to to buy as many treasuries. They're not going to be holding dollar reserves unless they need to do business with the US. So it's all coming to a head, and it's all, yeah, it's probably one of the reasons why they've raised rates so much to encourage people to hold dollars. And I think unless they raise rates even more, we could see problems because there's $7.6 trillion of debt, uh, US government debt coming due this year. And who's going to buy that if loads of foreigners are not buying it? And if the US as well is sanctioning countries, it's like stealing their reserves with Europe. Who's going to do it? And I just mentioned Europe, and unfortunately, Europe has followed right along, and so has the UK. And Germany is in worse shape economically now than Russia. So it's just crazy. So I'm going to stop right here, and that's how I see things. So the next 30 minutes, I'll go over your questions, try to answer your questions. So if you have any questions, just write it on the chat. Defined Stacker says fiat system is cracking faster. Yeah, and the whole the whole base of the fiat system is debt. And the problem with fiat systems is that the debt needs to keep increasing, ever increasing. But if interest rates go up, that's a problem because you can't finance the debt. You can't carry the debt. C. Hunter, wish you would pick a 1 ounce Krugerrand, American Eagle, Britannia, dollar for dollar. What's a Britannia dollar? Not sure what you mean. 1 ounce silver Krugerrand, American Eagle, or Britannia, dollar for dollar. Oh, you mean that they would all be the same price? Yeah, I mean, different coins have different prices. It depends on the supply of it, and the demand for the different coins. Uh, Dem Reed, do you invest in uranium? I have, yeah, uranium stocks, and right now I'm not invested, but I think it's a good place to be. There's Uranium Energy Corp. You are, I think it's what's the ticker? And this, of course, is not financial advice. I'm just telling you what I think. URE. Yeah, there's a couple. One is Uroy, Uroy. They're like a uranium royalty company. And the other one is Uranium Energy. And I've actually done some videos for these companies, some promotional videos, and they've done very well. And I think uranium is a good place to be. I mean, even, commodities in general, I think are going to be a good place to be. They didn't have a great 2022, but I think going forward, there's so much funny money in paper assets that you're going to get a relative value shift towards commodities. And I think gold and silver will be the best performers. And yeah, the other one is UEC, Uranium Energy Corp. That has done really well as well, that company. It's made an all-time high. So, and I did some promotional videos for them over a year ago. And I think, yeah, a lot of this clean clean energy agenda, renewables, is backfiring. I was reading that a lot of this ESG agenda is going down the drain. And I think uranium is a good, safe, it's relatively safe and it's very clean as well. Why don't they strike 1/2 ounce silver coins? I think it's because the value, the fiat value of silver is so low that it doesn't pay to mint a half-ounce silver coin, but they probably will, when the price is at $100. Yeah, that's probably the reason why, because the dealers prefer selling 1 ounce because they probably make more, and also a half ounce, there'll be a larger premium. Mark Hall, thank you for your super chat. Is that his first super chat on a live stream? Over here, wasn't so many years ago that Putin was considered one of the most popular world leaders. Yeah, that's true. I mean, there are pictures of him meeting George W. Bush and all other leaders. He was quite popular. Uh, I mean, he's very popular in Russia, so, but not in the West anymore. Numismatic coins, yeah, they are fractional because, there were coins that our great grandparents or grandparents used to carry around. And talking about them, I said in the beginning that I go through some junk coins. I'm gonna first show you these pre-19 1920 UK silver coins. So this one is a florin, which is a little bit like a $1/2. So this is sterling. Uh, Beautiful coin. So what's a florin? Well, a florin is 2 shillings or 24 pence. So that's from 1911, as you can see. And so a florin is a 24 pence. So that's it used to be a tenth of a pound because a pound used to have 240 pence. I've got some more here, as you can see. I think these are going to come in handy eventually. I have quite a few more of these. Some are more collectible than others. These are more just like I paid almost face value for them. And then I've got shillings as well, which is half a florin. They're 12 pence. So I've got shillings as well. And they're a bit like I would say a shilling is a bit like a quarter, which I have quite a few US junk stuff. This is a 1962 quarter, and it's 90% silver. The UK sterling coins are 925 silver. So this is a shilling here, shilling from, let's see, 1887. So we've got Queen Victoria, and then there's the shilling. And if you look at it, it's the same, very similar to a quarter. So there you go, a quarter and a shilling. And then I've got some pre-65 dimes as well. They're really nice coins. They're similar to the UK. This one is actually an Australian sixpence. The Australians used to have the same system, until 66 they switched to the dollar. They used to have Australian, they had Australian sterling, or the same pound system that we had in the UK. And the sixpence is very similar to the dime. Of course, I've got also Silver Eagles and Britannias. Those are different. Those are bullion. These are more the old circulating coins. And the other one I have is a crown from 1889 here. That's a really beautiful coin. And this is like a dollar, the silver dollar. So yeah, where do I buy these? Well, I bought some from all over the place, from eBay, Instagram. If you meet people there that you can trust, the way I do it is, if someone's selling something on Instagram, I'll buy one coin and see how it goes. And then you gain if they're trustworthy, you can buy more, or go to your local coin shop. Here in London, I go into Bromley to see Peter Morris. It's not far from where I am. Um, There's some more, in central London, and in the US, of course, there's loads of local coin shops. Uh, Udis Ozol says Putin's IQ is 124. Yeah, it's not that high, but anyway. But I think he can wipe the floor with David Cameron or Sunak and all these guys. I would say. Greg O'Neill, do you think PBR is a buy at the moment since the share price is high historical terms? Yeah, well, um, yeah, compared to the last few years, it's been down to 12. It's around 16 now. But if you look further back, it's been a lot higher. But I wouldn't be buying. I would be buying it more for the dividend. It's like 18%. So yeah, I think maybe cost average into it. Buy a little bit every month so that you yeah, do a dollar cost averaging. Deadly 0101 thinks the Bank of England will go digital and old money will become worthless. Yeah, I mean that's what Clive talks about, the CBDC and the currency reset. That's possible, but these coins here will always be worth something. And that's why I try to keep as little fiat currency in the bank. Well, it's when you keep fiat currency in the bank, it's not really yours, it's an unsecured loan. This, by the way, this one here is a half crown. That's a nice one too. LGX2, yeah, if Putin's IQ is 124, then Joe Biden's must be about 30, or even, George Bush must be about 50. Uh, Julie Smith, thanks for the videos. Just wondering if you would be better holding physical uranium at home. Or I wouldn't hold uranium at home, no. It's a little bit radioactive, but uranium, Uroy, uh, I'll write down the Uroy. Uh, they hold uranium position in uranium, Uroy, and UEC as well. They're a uranium mining company. So I think that's the best way to hold uranium. I wouldn't try to hold it at home. Why the Orica's 123? Why does Venezuela want the dollar instead of the BRICS? Thank you for the show. Venezuela, huh? Well, I think Venezuela applied to join the BRICS. Are you talking about Argentina, maybe? I think Argentina was supposed to join, and Milei said no. Um, I don't think, yeah. So Venezuela, I'm not sure they want to depend on the dollar as much as they have in the past because that hasn't really helped them. But maybe you're confusing Venezuela with Argentina. Olivier Leroy, thank you for your super chat. American silver coins have low premium. Will they be difficult to sell or buy goods with? I don't think so, Olivier. No. I think any silver coin will be you'll be able to transact. Some people call it barter. I have some French silver coins, some old ones, and also some old 50 franc silver coins. I would try to get some French silver coins if you're in France. It's always easier to deal with your country's coins in your country, but I would accept gold and silver from anywhere. That's the thing. Gold and silver are universal. Oh, Dutch libertarian has some uranium at home. Search for uranium cube. Okay, that's another way. I guess it's well sealed. Over here, I heard electric cars are so heavy due to their power supplies. Yeah, I mean it's the batteries are so heavy and like a Tesla, the bottom of the Tesla car is all batteries. And I've noticed, the buses in London, they've gone in the last 2.5 years, they've gone all electric. And you're seeing by the bus stops, it's like the asphalt goes like a wave, and they're having to repair the roads more regularly. And it's all because the buses are so heavy and they're creating potholes or like waves on the tarmac. Yeah. And the other day as well, I think it was somewhere in London, a double-decker bus uh, caught fire. It was really bad, an electric one. Yeah. And I heard as well that Hertz, the car rental company, they they're getting rid of a third of all their electric cars and buying gasoline or petrol cars because they say it costs too much to keep maintaining the batteries and changing them. So I think electric cars are on their way. I don't think there'll be a thing. There will be a thing unless the technology improves. And yeah, it's just like virtue signaling. A lot of the people driving electric cars, in my opinion. Darcy Vander Verks. I love the channel. I just want to ask if you go for Donald Trump or Joe Biden because of it. Because of what? Um, I'm in the UK, so I don't, I've never vote for, yeah, I think politics is a big theater and waste of time. Maybe local politics would be more interesting because you can control, the destiny of your local community. But in the UK, local communities have lost all their power to the central government. In countries like Switzerland, it's different. The local communes in Switzerland are more powerful. So that would be more interesting. But you know, yeah, Trump or Biden, it doesn't really matter who wins. Even under Trump, the national debt went through the roof. Trump was calling for uh, more QE and lower rates. It was under Trump that the Fed printed trillions in 2020. Um, so, Trump also told people to go and get this, right? He said it was safe. So, and I'm not bashing Trump. I think he's a lot better than Biden, but I wouldn't wait for these guys or girls to help you. So I just try to look at things, analyze what they do and how it might impact us and our pocketbooks, but I'm not really biased towards any of them. Yeah, I've spoken about the BIS. BIS was created through a treaty at The Hague in 1930. So yeah, and the Agenda 2030 BIS will be 100 years, and I spoke about that. I've done a video about that, and I think they want to have a CBDC by then. Hopefully, they'll fail. I think a CBDC will be the equivalent of the mandat. Back in the 1790s, uh, during the French Revolution, the French printed the assignats, and that collapsed into a inflationary pile. And then they tried the mandats, and that didn't even take off. Even before they issued it, it became almost worthless. So I think their CBDCs are going to fail. And Watson says, smash the like button, share. Let's get married to 100,000 subscribers. Yeah, that would be good. But sharing is probably a better thing. I'd like to get more views on my videos. 100,000 subscribers is nice. But if you're only getting, 13,000 views or 10,000, I think that's not enough. We need to be getting more like at least 20, 30,000 views. Yeah, Celtic Cross. There isn't much political choice anywhere, really. I don't think, yeah, politics, I think, is a distraction. And the people who control the currency, uh, they pull the strings. Thomas Moran, is there anything else you think is worth investing in apart from gold and silver? I find most things in life have very little long-term value. I look at gold and silver more as how can I say, ammunition for investing their money. So it looks like they're investments because the currencies are dropping so much and their prices are going up. So in terms of investing, I try to tell people and not advise them that they should invest in themselves or your own business, or if you looked into a public company that, and by public I mean it's quoted in the stock market, you've looked into a company that you're familiar with the business, and you think is a good prospect, then you invest it. And if you think if it's well valued, you invest. Or, there's other ways to invest your gold and silver or money. It could be in hard assets, it could be in antiques, could be fine watches, it could be in fine wine. And I always tell people, do what you're good at and what you know about. Don't just follow people because they say, oh, this is going to the moon, and this and this. Do your own research. So, yeah, what do I want to do? Like, let's say with some of my silver, if we see silver really jump higher, I don't know, maybe I'll exchange it for a second property somewhere in the country or something like that. Whatever floats your boat, or travel, do a long trip around the world with my wife or something, or whatever. So, and it depends, how old you are as well. I hope that helps. Anyway, I have a sip of my cold coffee now. Eugene says the rulers are demons. Ephesians 6:12. Yeah, there's always some interesting advice from the Bible, isn't there? Andrew Brown, gold and silver have been fluctuating lately, but with little change in the AU-AG ratio, gold silver ratio. Do you expect the ratio to decrease in the near future? Yeah, I think the key level there to is 80. If we can break below that, it means silver is going to start catching up. I do actually, because I think we are entering a new leg of a bull market in gold and silver. And why do I say that? Well, because we've gone definitively above the 2011 high of 1920. And yes, we've had highs above 2000 in the last few years, and we are breaking above that level right now. And usually in the precious metals bull market, gold starts first, but then silver catches up and then outperforms gold. And that's why I think that ratio will eventually go down. But in the short term, it's difficult to say. You know, if we see an environment like March 2020, we could go back up to 100 to 1 gold silver ratio. But I think the trend is lower in the long term. Stephen Hawking, he was in the in the Epstein Island. Yeah, there's been a lot of funny things going on social media about that. It's not really funny, but how high do you think silver could go? Well, I think silver could go into triple digits. I know that 50 is a key level, but uh, I think it has a lot of room. I mean, just to think that 44 years ago, silver was trading was twice as high as it's now. It doesn't make any sense. I think silver is very unloved and very undervalued. So that's usually a good place to be, a contrarian place. And I know it's been like that, for a while, but y- you need to be patient. If you're not patient, then you shouldn't be in gold and silver, I think. Um, yeah. Damien, right. Are we going into an inflation where everything will rise, or are we heading into an inflation where some things rise and others drop to accommodate inflation? I'm not sure what you mean by to accommodate inflation, but yeah, I think we're going to go into a period where all the basic necessities of life, especially for the average person, is going to be really expensive. Um, but the luxury goods, the investment assets and yachts and everything, they're all going to collapse. And they're going to be yeah, they're going to be very cheap, but very few people will be able to buy them because there will be eventually, after the hyperinflation, there will be a deflationary collapse. So, yeah, that's how I see it. It's like the currency won't buy much in terms of food, energy, shelter, um, all the things we need to survive. But if you want to buy a Tesla, it's going to be really cheap because there's not going to be any money either, when asset prices crash. If you want to buy, I think in the 1930s, you could buy skyscrapers in Manhattan really cheap, but no one had the money. So that's why. But if you have gold and silver, I think you're going to be in a good position because it is money and it will be worth something. Over here says the best things in life are free. I guess so. I mean, if you don't have health, it's difficult to build wealth. Yeah, no, I agree with you. But this is a financial channel, but I do agree with you. Having friends in the community, that's also important. That doesn't cost money, but you have to work at everything, I think. Things, free. What's free, I guess even the air isn't free anymore with these carbon credits. We've got about 4 minutes. Yeah, health is your wealth. We got about 4 minutes to go. So if you want to ask some more questions, do you see property tax as a form of debt, which means that you don't truly own outright? Yeah, I mean, a lot of people mention that. I think even Lynette Zhang talks about that. And that's true. I mean, uh, it's not really a debt because they don't have title to your property, but you might have to sell your property because you can't afford to run it. So in a way it is, you're right. But if you live within your means and you're able to stack gold and silver, when things get bad and they're getting bad, you'll be ahead of everyone else and you'll be able to cover those. I think that's one of the reasons for having gold and silver. And and then when people have to even get rid of their properties and they have to almost give it away, you'll be able to buy more. I know it sounds a little bit like not right, but in a way it is because you did the right thing. You shouldn't feel bad about it. Full of Hope is here. Hi, Full of Hope. I hadn't seen you. How are you? Nice to see you. James says we miss your friend you do shows with. Oh, Clive. Yeah, he comes regularly on the Sunday live streams. He's not coming, he's not on tonight, of course, but I'm actually gonna do an interview with him tomorrow morning. So the video for tomorrow will be with Clive. We've got a topic we're gonna cover. Damon Wright is saying to his fellow Aussies, the round AU 50, oh yeah, Aussie 50-cent piece is 80% silver. It would be wise to purchase some. N145YA, how would CBDCs impact interest rates, please? Thank you. Well, hmm. I mean, they would impact interest rates just like fiat currencies do. They would try to manipulate them. They would probably be interest rates if there is a CBDC would be, between, 2% and 5% normally. But if they issue a lot of CBDCs, they might have more control over interest rates because they can stop people from spending by, controlling their wallets. So yeah, it might keep interest rates very steady, which in my opinion is a bad thing. You need to allow the free market in credit to do its work. So yeah, I would say it might even kill the bond market because if they can control how much you spend and how much you borrow through controlling your wallet, yeah, that's how I see it. Cheap, Matt Bittner, is there cheap rural property in England? I'm sure there is some that is cheaper than others. I would go online, and search for it. That's the best thing to do. But uh, I would say probably in the north of England is probably you can get cheaper, places like Yorkshire and Northumberland and the Lake District, but and maybe in Kent as well. But N145, are you welcome? Just over here says Mary, I believe I heard that 40% of the jobs in America will be lost to AI in the next several years. The number seems too high. The thing about, yeah, there is a lot of talk about AI, of course. And, you go back in history, there's always been worries, about jobs and like technology. And we also, I think there's two sides of the coin. We have to people have to adapt, unfortunately. It's not unfortunate. We should be able to adapt. When I started out as a futures broker, we still had the traders on the floor in the pit trading, and I would call them from the office to deal for my clients. And then that finished and everything went on screen. You could trade the futures on the screen, but the clients used to come to me and I traded for them on the screen. But then you thought, eventually the clients are going to be trading directly, and they did. So yeah, my job was finished, so I had to adapt and do something else. And sometimes you find that you do a lot better, even though the technology has destroyed your jobs. And that's the way to look at it, I think. But it's not worth your time worrying about it. Yeah, and yeah, you just adapt. There's a term that says adapt or die, I think. So there you go. It's not nice, but I think the worst thing to do in this case is to complain and to try to make the government, for example, subsidize the company so that your business and the business you're in doesn't disappear. So there you go. I'm going to thank all of you for coming on the live stream tonight or this morning or afternoon, wherever you are. And for those of you who are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe, make sure you hit the notification bell. Yeah, I post content every day. So I'll talk to you later. Take care and goodbye.